Hey y'all. This is not really the normal type of videos I make. Well, it kind of is, but not really. I've never really in-depthly touched on emotional abuse for reasons I think my ex I know that he's like looked at my channel in the past 2 months, and it's kind of been like a touchy subject for me. I haven't really been open enough to really completely talk about what I really went through with my ex. I mean, of course, I made that video, Kiss My Roach Ass, in the response of what he reached out to me just to brag about his new partner. But that was just really that. And that was just me telling him that I didn't want him. But I've never really totally addressed how emotionally abused I felt like I was. So this is part of my therapy. I'm still seeing a therapist to this day, and she even recommended that I do this. She knows I do YouTube. She knows I like to make story times, and she said even if you don't post it on YouTube, you can at least look back at this, and I know this will make you feel better if you basically talk about all you went through, and hopefully you can keep this video and you can watch it months from now, and hopefully that'll help you realize how you weren't really in the wrong. So I'm still struggling to this day to find another man, and y'all know this. I've been on countless many bad dates this year, and it's just made me. It's all of this shit has been kind of a trigger to remind me of my ex. My ex. I'm not gonna mention his name. Y'all know his name if you've been on my channel for a while. If you've been on my old channel, you used to see us vlogging. We used to cook together. I used to stay in his house, babysitting his dogs. We used to go on road trips. You've seen that shit. I don't have to say his name. I don't have to post any pictures or anything or whatever. Y'all know who the F he is. So let's get right into it. It's funny because I don't even think actually really told you guys the story about how me and him got together. So me and my ex, we got together in August of 2016. At the time, I was 22. I had just turned 22. I had actually got out of another abusive relationship with some guy who called me the N word. But that was like months prior. Like in between that time, like that whole summer 2016, I was a complete whore. Well, it wasn't a complete whore, but I was dating a lot. I was kind of sleeping around, whatever. I didn't care about a lot of things at that time. But then there was this one evening in August where I was like, okay, well, I'm tired of just dating around. I'm tired of just sleeping around. I may actually want a boyfriend. So I get back on OkCupid. That was the site I used at that time to find guys or whatever. So I see this new guy on there, and I've never seen this guy before. I felt like I had seen every single dude on that site at that time. And then I see this guy. He's 30 years old. I at the time before him, I had only dated white dudes, and he was like the first black guy on that site I thought was attractive, and I was like, well, so, he lived like 3 miles away, it said, and I just liked his profile, and his first words to me, like he was the one who approached me first, obviously, was, I know this is weird, Olivia, but are you real? And basically we started talking from that. He basically said I was too good to be true. And, like most abusers, emotional abuse, I don't know about physical abuse. I can't really talk on physical abuse because I've never experienced that. My ex never physically assaulted me. So I don't want anybody to think that. He's never physically assaulted me. This is all strictly emotional mental abuse. But if anybody knows anything, most abusers, they come on super strong, or they come on super, complimentary, like they're really, 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 really into you. And it's nice, and it's very charming at first. My ex was very charming at first. So So anyway, we ended up going out. Our first date was like at an Italian place or whatever. And I didn't tell my parents I was going out with him, only because at the time I was going out so much that my parents were so turned off that I was going out like with so many different dudes. They felt like I was just inviting every dude in the fucking 30-mile radius over to our house, and I didn't want to tell them about him in case we flopped. So my ex, he's a lot older than me. I'm 23 now, almost 24, but at the time he was 30 and I was 22. So I felt like he was so much more older and smarter than me. and I put all that emphasis on him. He had 3 degrees, and at the time I was in college, so I kind of felt like he's so much smarter than me, he's better than me. From my memory, everything happened so fast in that relationship. I think on our first date, like I went over his house right after, not to have sex or anything. We didn't have sex on the first date, but I do remember him introducing me to his dogs and, telling them that I was his new girlfriend. But jokingly, I don't think he even asked me to be his girlfriend at the time, but he was just telling his dogs that I was his new girlfriend. And I was like meeting his dogs, and we hung out there for a few because, we didn't have sex. I think I was on my period that day or something. We didn't have sex. I know that. And yeah, basically, so he just showed me around his house and, told his dogs I was the new woman in the house or whatever. And I thought it was cute. I thought it was like, oh, because at the time, you guys, I had only went over guys' houses basically to have sex. I was not over their house just to meet their dogs and take a house tour. So it was so appealing to me, and he just totally charmed me. So, the second day we had, I remember he came to pick me up or whatever, and my family finally met him. And he even told me, oh, why didn't you tell them about me? That's so rude. Why would you lie? I don't like women who lie, blah, blah. So I could have took that as a red flag about how harshly he was criticizing me, but I didn't because, like I said, he was such a charmer. He still was complimenting me, talking about I was beautiful. I ended up being comfortable enough to tell him about my YouTube channel, and he thought it was funny. He thought what I was doing was awesome. Even though he did actually make a very backhanded compliment when I first told him how many subscribers I had on my old channel, because before this channel I had about 4,500 subscribers, and he was like, oh my God, you're so online famous, you can get into any bar around our area without waiting in line, ha ha. So at the time I thought it was a joke, but now I'm thinking back, now it was him totally thinking he was better than me. So our relationship progressed. I think the next week, he actually invited his whole family, his cousins and his aunts or whatever, to his house for a barbecue, and he invited me, and I ended up meeting some of his family. This was like 2 weeks in, you guys. And I think actually this after or before we had sex. I'm not totally sure, but I know it was like literally 2 weeks in, I met his family, and it was kind of awkward. It was like he totally like bamboozled me with it. It was like I came over, he was cooking, I saw that he was cooking, and I was like, what for? And he's like, oh, my family's coming over, by the way. And I'm like, I don't know them. Like, I mean, we've only been dating for 2 weeks. So basically he just like, his whole family came over. He had a whole bunch of alcohol, so of course I drank a lot, and I was very like nervous. I'm a natural introvert, so I'm just not a social butterfly in real life, and I don't think he ever liked that. He wanted me to socialize with his family. Like, this was like 2 weeks in, and I'm like, I don't even halfway know you, and you're wanting me to socialize with your family. So half the time I basically spent upstairs in his room with his dog drunk. So during that time, apparently, like, his family was asking me all these questions, which I understand. My family asked questions to guys as well, so I really wasn't totally turned off by it. But it was like, wow, it's either I'm the one or he's just really trying to interrogate me. So I totally, like, at the time, I was super just smitten by him. I was super smitten by the situation. He had his own house. He was a man in his 30s. I thought he was attractive. His dogs liked me. I liked his dogs. And I was super, like, smitten. And also, he had also mentioned that he would make vlogs with me on my YouTube channel. So in a way, I felt like he totally accepted me, even though he didn't. But at the time, I totally thought he accepted me. So after that, he kind of treated me like I was the one. Like, literally, he would come over and pick me up when I was off work during his lunch break just to hang out with me at his house. He would cook for me almost every night that I was over there. And he just seemed like the perfect dude to me. And flash forward to the time we did first have sex. I think us first having sex was maybe 3 weeks in. It was either 2 weeks or 3 weeks in. It was very soon. I know it wasn't even a month. And because, like I said, you guys, he wanted to see me all the time. It was almost like I don't know if he had, I'm pretty sure it was trust issues, because he would always mention, oh, I hope you're not back on OkCupid. I hope you're not entertaining all these other dudes, white dudes, because I told him he was the first black guy I had been with. And actually, I was the first black girl he had dated. So Yeah. He'd just be like, "Oh, I hope you're not entertaining those white dudes anymore. I hope you're not on OkCupid." So he'd always be around, like, so he'd always come by and pick me up, basically. And we'd, every time I was off or whatever, and we'd always hang out. So it was like all the time. So that's why I felt so comfortable having sex with him so soon. And we started to really date. Like, he started to bring me around his family more. I would be over his cousin's house and all that stuff. And his cousins would come over when I was there. We'd all drink together, all that stuff. So for like a good, I think, a good 2 months or so, we were fine. Like, my ex, he held himself up for a good 2 months into our relationship, and we were fine. He didn't act abusive at all. He totally acted like amazing dude. Like I met. So the first business trip he went on, like, this was in like October of 2016. We didn't break up then, but we had an argument. It was like, he had saw one of my YouTube videos and he was super criticizing me. He's like, "Well, you're cussing too much in that video. Oh, you're creating drama with all these other YouTubers. That's so not attractive. Like, I hate your channel, like your channel." And mind you guys, at the time, me and him had started making vlogs. Like, I think me and him had started to actually like make vlogs. I would vlog in his house when he was cooking. I would show his dogs. So basically at that time, my YouTubers had already seen my subscribers had already seen him. Like, we'd already started making vlogs from like, I think like August, end of August to September, we were making vlogs together. So in October, he was like, "Oh, I don't want to make any vlogs anymore. I want you to get to take me out of this YouTube drama. I'm not a fan. I don't like how your subscribers comment on your videos with me in it. They're talking about me." And he was like, he was super insecure. And I'm like, I always try to encourage him. I'd always be like, "Look, I don't care what they think. I'm with you. I like you, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what they think, how they think you're attractive or not. Like, I'm with you. This doesn't matter. YouTube is just something I like to do for fun." And then, obviously after all that, I stayed with him only because, he would still redeem himself. He would still cook for me. He would apologize. He'd, he would basically insult me and then basically pull me back in. It was like, "Oh, I'm done with you, Olivia." And then he's like, "No, I want you still. Oh, I still like you, blah, blah, blah." He was like that. Like, he was super, like, 1 minute I was the beautifulest woman, the most beautiful woman in the world. The next minute I'm his damn enemy. So, the next time we had any type of like really big argument this was in November. He had went to his mother's, he had went on a business trip, and then he had went to his mom's house as well. His mom lives in Florida. And at the time, it was during the election, when Trump got elected. This was in 2016. And this was right before Thanksgiving. If you guys remember, the election was like right before Thanksgiving. And prior to him going on his business trip, he was telling me, "Oh, Olivia, you will get to meet all my family. On Thanksgiving, they're all flying in to see my new house and to meet you. They're all excited for us, blah, blah, blah. You'll meet my grandma. You'll meet my cousins. And blah, you'll meet my distant cousins from other states. You'll meet my more extended family," all that stuff. So I was super excited. This was like the first serious relationship I've had. You guys know this. Like, I don't want to start crying because it's very hard for me to talk about, but I have to do this for my own sake. So, okay. So basically, during that time, he was acting super erratic. Like, on his business trip, he would like ignore me for hours. He wouldn't respond back to me on Facebook. So like any fed up girlfriend, I called him out about it. I remember this one day, he claimed he was going to sleep all day, right? Like, he had texted me saying, "Good morning, I'm going to sleep all day. I'm not going to, I might not be responding really. So, I'm going to be in bed all day, blah, blah. I'm really exhausted. Work is really killing me. All this stuff that I'm doing, blah, blah, blah." So I see him on Facebook making all these like, all these like statuses and like sharing videos and not even talking to me. Like, I remember he wasn't even talking to me at all. Like, y'all, he wasn't even responding to me at all after he said that. So I thought he was asleep, but I just happened to see him on Facebook posting all this stuff. So I just hit him up saying, "Oh, I guess you're not really asleep, LOL." Like, I wasn't even trying to be combative, you guys. I wasn't trying to be a complete asshole. I was just pointing out, "Oh, okay, you're not asleep, but you're on Facebook." That's all I was doing. I was not trying trying to be a complete asshole to him. I was just kind of like jokingly like, haha, you can be on Facebook but not talk to me. And he goes all into me. Actually, I think I may still have the old message he sent to me, you guys. This is how much I put into this relationship, that I think I've saved old ass messages or screenshots from way back then. If I don't have it, then I won't read it. I'll just give you guys a summary because it was a lot of bullshit. Okay, I think I still have it. No, I do have it. It says, he totally went in on me in our whole relationship. This was in November 2016. So you guys, be mindful. Me and him had been dating for about 3 months at this time. So let me get into what the hell he says. This might make me cry. Okay, so previous to what he said, previous to what he says now, I had told him I'm too good to be treated this way. I've been nothing but good for you, blah blah blah. And he says this shit. He says, "Where do I not start? Too good to have put me in that awkward situation with your parents who didn't even know who I was and potentially calling the cops on me. I don't think or too good for them to think I took your virginity. You lied in my name. I didn't lie in his name. Or how about exposing me to that bullshit on your YouTube channel, which, but yeah, you're right. You don't deserve that. Just like I don't deserve to be reminded on Facebook that I should or should not be sleeping or posting instead of texting you. Or maybe that really awkward time you said you're upset with me for not waking you up to buy you pizza. I can't remember the last time I got on Facebook from my computer. Knows the green dot. But no thanks for being too good for me." And then he says some other shit that he's like, if that's your definition of being too good for me, I don't want nothing to do with you or it. So that was when we broke up in November. He just went off on me, basically. After this particular breakup, we didn't talk for a few days. I think when he got back to Georgia, he'd even told me, he was even texting me talking about, oh, whatever you have in my house, please get it out of my house. You know, you have till this day to get all your stuff out of my house. Like, he was super serious. And then, you know, of course, I think the day approached where I was going to get the stuff out of his house. And he had called me trying to apologize. And I didn't answer his call, so he texted me talking about I'm just heartbroken as you are. I'm damaged goods. Actually, I think I may still have that text because, like you guys said, like I said, this was a very deep relationship for me. This wasn't anything that was just. I didn't think this relationship was going to be temporary, but it was, and this has really hurt me to my core. So I've held on to a lot of the old stuff that maybe I shouldn't have. But he ended up telling me. Even this was us, you know, getting back together. He had texted me because I didn't respond to him. So here's what he said. Morning, kid, you should know that you can do better. You don't deserve the damaged goods I've become over the years. My mind and my own insecurities get the best of me. Maybe I'm still healing, or maybe I'm just not cut out for relationships anymore. I've been misjudged and followed before, which had nothing to do with you. Yet I made it about you, and that's not fair. It's hard for me to open up emotionally, and when someone does to me, I get scared. I don't hate you. I'm not mad at you. I have no reason to be. I'm a mess whose heart is just as broken as yours. If you're wondering if there's someone else, there's nothing. Just me, my dogs, and my thoughts that could have been. If you need me, you know where to find me. You are so worthy. So he went from saying all that other mean stuff to saying that, and that's how we got back together the first time, you guys. So after that, we ended up talking on the phone. Obviously, I came over not just to get my stuff, but we ended up, you know, still acting like boyfriend and girlfriend again. And I ended up meeting his family, and Thanksgiving still was Thanksgiving. And the whole holidays was amazing. He actually acted like he wanted to, you know, be a better guy for me. He actually acted good for about November till February, I would say. He acted amazing. And that's what I thought. That's why I thought our relationship would be more than just temporary. He didn't really show much abusive signs. Oh my God. So never mind that. In January, actually on New Year's Eve, going into 2017, we did have a big ass argument. We didn't break up, but it was like almost, I thought he was going to dump me. I was like literally on eggshells, you guys. Like, do never date someone who makes you feel like you have to be on eggshells to when they're gonna dump you again. So on New Year's Eve, I remember that night we went to a bar. It was weird because while we were out there, he was saying, "Do you miss hoeing around?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Do I miss hoeing around?" He said, "Well, am I still in your youth? Do you feel like I'm still in your youth?" And I said, "No, I'm really into this. Like, this is what I've always been wanting." Which, obviously now looking back, complete lie. I mean, I wasn't lying to him then, but I'm just saying now looking back, he was not what I really needed in life. He was not my soulmate. But at the time, I was still banking that he was not my soulmate only because he was the first guy I thought who was showing me the good life, who I thought was showing me what men should do with their women. He was the first guy who actually really took me seriously, and I was so super close with him. He was the first guy that introduced me to his whole family like that. Who let me he even let me move half my stuff into his house after that first breakup. He let me move a lot of my stuff into his house. He had a whole section in his bathroom side for me. He bought shampoo and shit for me and everything. Everything in his bathroom was there was a side for me and everything. So I thought that, you're not stealing my youth. I really want this. You're my dream relationship. All that bullshit, right? So we get back to his house. We were gonna have sex. I think what happened was it's either he ran out of condoms or the condom, I knew the condom ripped and I told him to get a new condom or something. And he was so pissed off. I think it was about to be the freaking ball was dropping on the TV, and I told him that, hey, get a new condom or something because we're not gonna have sex in this ripped condom or something like that. And he totally his mood totally changed. He didn't give me a happy New Year's kiss. He turned over on the bed, back facing towards me. He didn't want to talk to me. He acted like he didn't want me at his house. It was that bad that I went home that night, even though I was supposed to spend the night over his house. And he was all, as I was leaving, he was all maybe you should be abstinent. You can't handle having sex. You don't know how to have sex when you're in a relationship. If you're that uncomfortable, maybe I'm not the right sexual partner for you. Maybe you should not have sex at all. Maybe you're not mature enough for this relationship. All this shit, right? And we didn't break up that night, surprisingly. But I did go home that night. It was hella awkward. The next day, it was a Sunday, I remember. I went over his house, and we did end up having sex, and he's like, "Oh, you would have done this last night. We would have had a good New Year's." And he was still blaming me for the bad New Year's Eve. Who the fuck does that? So, as weird as 2016 was for me and him, 2017 was... The first part of 2017 with us was amazing. I met from January until April, March, April, we were fine. We were Gucci. We were awesome. In January 2017, he had started to ask me to dog sit, so I would stay at his house, when he was out of town because he traveled a lot for work, and I would stay with his dogs. I started to do that, and we had started to. I thought we were getting closer. We'd hang out a lot more. He was starting to get more generous with his money with me. He'd stock up his whole cabinet full of liquor for me and food, and when he would go out of town and everything. So I thought we were getting closer. He would do more things for my parents as far as he would attend church for me more. So I really thought we were getting closer. He had started to not bitch on my YouTube channel anymore. He had stopped, making my YouTube such a big deal until March. So March happened, well, actually on Valentine's Day, I had made a cake. Actually, let's go back to Valentine's Day because there is something that happened on Valentine's Day I'm starting to remember. So I had made a cake that said "I heart" and his name, right? And he didn't say "I hurt you back" and "I love you back" or anything. I think that was my first way of saying I love you to him. And he didn't say it back at all. I didn't say it, but it was on the cake. It was something I made to him, for Valentine's Day. And he didn't say I love you back, obviously, but it made me kind of sad. I didn't make it a big deal that night because, it was Valentine's Day. He still took me out and he was still, treating me to a dinner, but it was still not it still didn't sit right with me that he didn't say I love you back. So I was like, okay, well, maybe he's just not ready yet. So in March 2017, by that time we were dating for 7 months, right? And I remember it was one night I spent the night over his house, and I woke up that morning and he could tell that I was he could tell that I was sad about something or whatever. And he's like, oh, tell me. No, tell me, like, what's up? Like, did you fuck somebody else? Like, like, what's up? And I said, no, it has nothing to do with cheating. I'm really in love with you. I think I'm falling in love. And this is the first time I ever told any guy that I love you first. I've never told a guy I love you first. He was the first guy I've ever said I love you first to. And he was like, well, I'm glad you really like me, but I'm not there yet. Like, I don't know if you know the depths of love, but there's no way that you would know the depths of love within 7 months. That's really nice. So that's a nice thought that you really like me, but I can't say that back to you. I'm sorry. And that really killed me. And I think the whole day I was super bratty about it. And I was super like, and I kind of feel bad. I kind of was like, I just felt like so disconnected from him. And he was like, oh, you must really hate me because I didn't say I love you back, but you're not going to force me. The more you try to force me, the more you're going to push me away, Olivia. Just remember that. So from that time on, I was kind of walking on eggshells with saying I love you to my own boyfriend. And it was sad because my love became stronger. Because he had not only, he gave me a key to his house, he made a house key for me. He told me he wanted me to move in and all that, but he still wasn't saying he loved me. I think I would even tell him I love you, and he would be like, wow, that makes things a little bit awkward now, you being all emotional and shit. And he would even tell his dogs in front of me, I love you, in his dogs' names, and not say it to me, like in front of me, he would say it. And if I were to mention it, he'd claim I was being jealous of his own dogs. And that's sick. And so I put up with that till about, this was in April. So in April, that was the first road trip we ever took together. So, of course, after all those arguments about I love you, he tried to redeem himself. He started to say, oh, well, I'm almost to that point. I feel like I could be in love with you, but let's go on this trip. So we went to his mom's house. She has a nice house in Florida and, close to everything else, all the attractions Florida has, whatever. And the whole way there was this one time I had to go to the restroom, and he was like, oh, do you not know how to travel? Do you not know how to hold your pee? Do you not know how to not stop everywhere? I have dogs. I can't keep stopping. And I was only like twice. It was only twice. And mind you guys, his mom lives in Central Florida and we live in the Atlanta area. So it's a 7-hour trip there. Like, do you expect me to just hold it for 7 hours? Why are you getting mad? He got mad because I wanted to stop somewhere and his dog was like making a noise in the back saying that I'd irritated him the whole trip. And then when we got there, he drank a lot. He acted like disconnected to me. Like he acted like he was more into checking his Facebook and talking to his mom and drinking than being around me. And his mom even told him, hey, why don't you take her to the beach? Why don't you take her to this restaurant that I know of? Why don't you do this? And it's sad because now realizing it, the only times me and him would actually go out doing stuff was because his mom and his sister and them all brought us out to do it. Like, we only went to the beach probably once or twice with each other as a couple. But all the other times it was with his family. And he'd be like, and then when we were at the beach, he was looking at other women's asses. And, he was kind of like, oh, why'd you wear that bikini? Like, you would have looked way better in that bikini that girl's wearing. And he'd just be like, oh, let's just go to the bar. I don't really feel like being at the beach. This is hurting my eyes. I can't even focus at the beach. Let's just go drink. And that's all we would do. He did not want to do anything I wanted to do. And hindsight looking back, at first I thought it was just, okay, we don't like the same stuff, whatever. But he was super anal about it. He just did not want to do anything I really wanted to do. He was super narcissist about it. He'd be like, well, I drove you down here, Olivia. Like, the least you can do is do something I'd like to do. Like, I drove you down here. I didn't have to drive you down here. I didn't have to have my mom clean up her big house to have you. She barely even knows you. Also, there was one time while we were there, we were at some type of event with his sister and his nieces and nephews. And I was mentioning what we're going to do next. Just because it was noon, it was a Saturday, and it was sunny and beautiful down there, and I was just wondering what the fuck we were going to do next. I wasn't trying to be pushy. I wasn't trying to be annoying or anything. I was just like, hey, so what are we going to do next? Blah, blah, I'm getting hungry, blah. And he was like, Olivia, why don't you just shut up for a second and relax? You never know how to relax. You never know how to go with the flow. Like I told you the day before, I didn't have to bring you down here. And his like sister's looking at him like, what the fuck? Like, and he like completely snapped on me in front of his sister and his nieces and nephews. Like I was like literally asking him to loan me $2,000 to get back to Georgia or something. Like he was looking at me like I just like he was going at me like I just like killed his dog. Like he was getting mad because I asked what we're gonna do next, and he claimed that I was annoying him and making his vacation more stressful than it had to be. And his sister had to actually tell him, hey, like this was like later on that evening. She's like, hey, I feel like you guys are stressed out. I need to take y'all to do something. And she took us out to eat or whatever. But still, and he ended up apologizing, of course, because you know, like I said, he was one of those type of he was one of those type of narcissist abusers who would let you have it, and then you know, of course, they would somehow feel like a little bit, you know, like damn, I was too mean to her in front of everybody. Maybe people shouldn't have saw me in this light, so I'm gonna apologize. I'm not even sure if he really meant it, but he apologized to me after, I remember, and we ended up, you know, of course we had a better time after that because he kind of just was on his best behavior. I'm not sure if it was because of his family seeing how he was acting towards me or what, but it was really weird. So the next time, I think like I said, we had patterns of going great for like weeks or maybe a month, and then he started acting up again. So it was very up and down. Like I told you guys, he gave me hope. He would also tell me that, oh, I could see myself having a family with you. I can see myself marrying you. You know, when I am in a good mood and my work isn't stressing me out, I can definitely see us getting married. I can definitely see us having a family together. I can definitely see um, my kid. I would definitely love my daughter to look like you and shit like that. He would say things like that that were very endearing, but then be like, I'm not in love with you though. I can't really be, you know, open enough to tell you I'm in love with you. My ex wife stole a lot of my love feelings. I haven't been in love since my ex wife. He even told me that. Like, he's like, I have not felt like I was actually in love with anybody since my ex wife. So don't, you know, feel bad because none of my ex-girlfriends even got as close to me telling them that I could see a family with them. None of my ex-girlfriends got to meet all my family. None of my ex-girlfriends were even at my Thanksgiving. You know, he would make it seem like I was special, but then not that special. So it was a very like up and down roller coaster. And at any time a man is not telling you they love you, not telling you that, you know, for real, what the fuck it really is. He's giving you pieces of it. It's bullshit. Now that I've realized it, it's such bullshit. Like, I can't even stress enough how much I've realized in the past 6 or 7 months that all that shit he was saying was such bullshit. Okay? Thank God for my therapist and you guys. So let me get right back into the story because there's so much more that I have not even talked about. So now we're in May of 2017 in this chronological thing. So in May, I do remember he was talking about at the time. Let me put you up to speed. So at the time, I had a key to his house, right? So basically, you know, since I'm the girlfriend with the key to his house, I think I thought that it was okay for me to come over after work and shit. So there's this one time I came over after work, and it was kind of unannounced, but I had a key to his house. He even told me like, oh, if there's an emergency or like if my dogs or like my house on fire, just, you know, come over, let my dogs out, save them, don't save anything else, whatever, all that shit. So there's this one time I came over and he was mad because I was sitting in his office and waiting for him to stop working, and he was all like, oh, you're distracting me, you're being a distraction. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be a distraction. I'm like, literally, your dogs always sit here while you're working. Why can't I? I wasn't really watching him working, y'all. I was playing with his dog. Like, I wasn't even watching him work. It was really weird. It was like he was mad that I was there right after he worked. And he was like, well, it's just kind of distracting. I'm not sure how, you know, like, it's just all I want to do right now is work. So basically, all I did was go back downstairs and drink because he didn't want to be bothering me. So that happened. And then there was this, and then he started to, after, you know, he got out of his whatever mood he was in, he was like, oh, I think I want to go to California with my homeboys. And I'm like, oh, you ain't gonna bring me. I was joking, right, you guys? I'm a jokester. He knows I'm a jokester. He knows that I'm not always serious. So I'm like, oh, you ain't gonna bring me, haha. And then he got in this, he like his face like almost turned red. He's light skinned, so his face almost turned red, and he was all like, oh, you're not my fiance yet. There's no way I'm gonna take just a girlfriend to California all the way across the country. You can go to Florida with me, but you can't go to California. You can't go to this place and that place that requires a plane ride because you're not my fiance yet. Okay, there's levels to this shit. And I'm like, well, excuse the fuck out of me. Like, he would just put stipulations on everything. He'd be like, you're not my fiance yet. I'm not totally sure if I would want to go that far with somebody. And I know you're not going to pay for it because, you know, you're cheap, Olivia. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? So, and I mean, and at the time I was literally just joking. Like, he took it to the point of insulting me, that saying I was cheap and saying that I wouldn't pay for my own ticket anyway, and that I'm not his fiance. He's not just gonna take a girlfriend to California. The motherfucker never ended up going anyway, but still, it was like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not even trying to be intrusive. I'm just joking, bro. I digress. So in June we had a breakup, an actual breakup in June, you guys. So as y'all can tell from our last time we had a breakup was in November, before Thanksgiving. So in June, what happened was I went to my friend's baby shower like the day before all this shit happened. It was very weird. I think the day before I went to the day of my friend's baby shower, I was gonna go to his house right after. Like, my friend's baby shower ended at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was gonna go to his house right after, right? And he just basically texted me like last minute. It was really weird. He texted me last minute talking about I need a me day. He would do this shit okay. The last time he did the whole I need a me day thing was like right before we broke up in November, or whenever he was like really pissed off at me. He would just be like, oh, I need a me day. I don't want to see you, basically. And I'd be like, what was wrong? I asked him what was wrong. He was like, oh, I just don't want to do like shit with you today, Olivia. Like, come on. Like, I just want to be with my dogs and drink with my dogs. Like, that's all I want to do. And when you come over, I'm going to have to talk and interact with you, and I don't feel like it. Like, I just don't feel like interacting. I don't feel good. My back hurts. Like, he would just make the weirdest excuses. Like, oh, my back hurts. I don't want to. And most men, if you really like your bitch, if you're really in love, if you're really into a woman, you would want her by your side even when you don't feel good. Bruh. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, whatever. And it was like super short notice. It pissed me off because it was super fucking short notice. I was literally dressed to go to his house. Like, I was literally dressed, and I actually, like, you know, I had more like clothes in the car I was going to change into just to go to his house. And the place where my friend had her baby shower was like right next to his fucking house. So it did piss me the fuck off. And at the time I did have a key, so I kind of felt like, bitch, I could just go walk in that hoe, but I didn't do that. I did go drive by his house. I do remember I drove by his house, and he claimed that he was going to be at home all night, you know, and he's in a shitty mood. But when I drove past his house, I didn't see his car there at all, honey. So I don't know what the fuck he did that night, but it wasn't with me. Anyway. So the next day it was Sunday. He was like, oh, I can go to church with you. I can pick you up. Let's go to church. You know, my dad was preaching that day. And the whole time we were in church, like, he was just like, oh, the Bible doesn't make sense. The Bible, oh my God, yeah, like, what your dad's preaching doesn't make sense. And he was like pointing stuff out in the Bible. He's like, that sounds fucking weird. And it's like, why are you cussing in church, for one? Why are you telling me that the Bible sounds weird? Why are you telling me about my dad's preaching doesn't even make damn sense? Like, what the hell? It just pissed me off. And like, he acted like such a dick the whole day. Like, he was acting like he was doing me a favor that he was there. Like, and I remember we drove, like, at the time, instead of riding with my folks, I rode with him, you know, after church. And we were going to go to his house, and we were going to make crab legs. I remember it instinctively. He had crab legs in his freezer that he thawed out for us to make, right? So on our way to his house, I was like, oh, I want to stop and get some beer for, you know, the crab boil or whatever. I don't know. I think it was beer and wine. It was some type of alcohol. We were stopped by the grocery store up the street from his house. And I picked out the alcohol, right? And when we got to the checkout line, I think I told the story to you guys on my old channel, but my old channel got deleted. So here's the other story. Here's the story told again. So we get to the checkout line, right? And he's all like, oh, you want me to pay for it? I'm like, well, you got your wallet out. Because he had his wallet out, you guys. Like, he's wanting to show his ID. He had his wallet out, right? and he paid for it. Then we went to the car, and then he's like all speeding off. Like, he was so angry. Like, he's light skinned, so he was like red, and I'm like, why are you red? And he's like, oh, I'm fucking done with you. Like, he was speeding. He's like, I'm gonna fucking take you home. Like, I'm tired of this shit. You're a fucking gold digger. He was calling me a gold digger. He was saying that I was inconsiderate. He's like, oh, you can only help me out so long. You can only do nice things for so long, Olivia. You only do nice shit when I tell you that I'm fucking mad at you. You only do nice shit when you know I'm pissed off at you, when you know that you fucked up. You never do things out of the kindness of your heart. You're so inconsiderate. You're so, you only want shit from me. I'm like, no, you fucking had your wallet out. And I'm crying, you guys. I'm hysterical because you guys know I was in love with this guy. I felt almost like I was giving more of my love than he was. Even though he was one telling me that I wasn't doing shit, I felt like I was the one watching his dogs when he was out of town for work. I was the one, helping him cook, helping him clean his house. I did try to help him clean his house, even though I'm a shitty cleaner. I still try to help. This is the first guy I've ever attempted to even clean their house, attempted to even cook for them, attempted to even bring them to church. Like, that was me caring. Okay, so I was 22 at the time. What did you expect me to really fucking think? Like, how did you expect me to fucking act? So I was hysterical. I was crying. He literally at the time I had a lot of stuff in his house. I had a lot of my stuff in his house at the time. And he was like, oh, get your shit out of my house. I'm like, really? Motherfucker, really? You're really telling me to get my stuff? He's like, yeah, I don't want anything that reminds me of you. You're a gold digger. You're a leech. And, basically he was like, I'm about to take you home. I'm like, no, you're not about to fucking take me home. You almost fucking killed me on our way from the grocery store back to this house. I'm gonna call my fucking mom. She gonna pick me up. So my mom came by, and I was crying. I was telling her that, oh my god, he's kicking me out of his house. He doesn't want to see me ever again. He's dumping me. Oh my god, I was crying, y'all. I was hysterical. And I'm pretty sure his neighbors probably saw, because this shit was all in his driveway. And I was crying loud. I was super emotional about it, because not only did I feel like my heart was always being toyed with him, because he would never say I love you back, and he would never even after sex, you guys. I told you guys I don't care about our sex. I really don't. Fuck him, fuck his sex life, whatever. But after sex, a lot of the times he would just say thank you. He would just, instead of cuddling with me, he would just get up and take a shower. He would not be connected to me at all. It was basically an exchange. I almost felt like a whore sometimes having sex with him. He would just fuck and then get up and take a shower, or just say thank you. Who the fuck says thank you to their girlfriend after sex? It's what? You're gonna put money on the counter next? Anyway, so when my mom gets there, he's like, oh, your daughter is so inconsiderate. I always have to beg her to do nice things. She does not know how to do nice things. It's not in her nature. So that's why we're breaking up. This is why we're breaking up. I'm done with her. And I don't know what you taught her, but it wasn't right. And then my mom was like, what the fuck? My mom got so mad. She's like, oh, is there anything I can do to help y'all fix this? Why are you even doing this to my daughter? All she wanted was some wine. It's not that big of a deal. Telling him it's not that big of a deal. Maybe we can talk it out. He's like, no, there ain't no talking it out. She needs to give me her key back. And I didn't give him the key back only because I didn't have my car keys that day. I remember I didn't drive, so I didn't have my car keys that day. And his keys were attached to my car keys. So I'm like, no, I'll give you my keys in a few days. Fucking simmer down, and I'll give you my keys in your key in a few days. Calm down, bruh. So he literally has a trash bag of some of my clothes. It wasn't all of my clothes. It was some of my clothes, and he puts it in my mom's van, and he's and he's telling my mom, oh, well, I'll just have to think about this, okay? I just have to think about what's really important. Do I really want to be with someone who doesn't care about me financially at all? Mind you guys, my ex is not a broke nigga like that. He was just one of those niggas living above his means. He was one of those guys that was struggling to pay his mortgage on a house that he probably didn't even need to buy. He was one of those type of dudes. He made an adequate amount of money, but he did not know how to spend it correctly. He spent most of his money on alcohol, and video games and shit. He was just bad with his money any damn way. So it was he was pointing the finger at me for being shitty with his money. He even told me while he was dumping me that time, oh, I didn't have to pay you that time you watched my dogs. I'm like, dude, I didn't tell you to pay me. You're the one who was like, I'm gonna give you shopping money. You're the one who offered me $200. You didn't fucking, I didn't ask you to pay me for the services. I did it for free many of times. And he was like, no, well, I get that, but you could refuse $200. But no, you took it and you went shopping with it. And I bought a cabinet full of liquor for you. And I bought food to cook for you. And you don't even give a shit about buying your own fucking wine now. I spoiled you too goddamn much. So in between that time, you guys, I was so like sad, like I was crying, like I really felt like an asshole, you guys, and I shouldn't have now. Thinking back now, bitch, you shouldn't have felt like an asshole. I probably should have been done with his ass that day, but I wasn't because I was so emotionally broken. He had totally broke me down to feeling less than him. He totally broke me down to really believing that I was a gold digger, really believing that I didn't really love him. I was just using him for money, even though I did actually love him. Oh my god, I'm trying not to cry in this shit because I don't, yeah. Anyway, he really made me believe that I was such a gold digging whore, basically. So I think the night that that happened, like I sent him a pizza. Like I literally had a pizza delivered to his house that night because I felt so shitty. I felt like, oh my god, I need to get my man back. Like that's how I felt. Like I was in super like pick me mode, super save me mode, and I shouldn't have been because he was the one emotionally abused me. He even told me while I was crying, you guys, on this like outside. He was like, "Oh, stop playing victim. You're the one who caused all this bullshit." He even told me not to play victim. Like I have no right to be hurt and I have no right to cry. Oh my god. So being the pick me, crazy, like emotionally broken, clinging on to an ancient dude, girl I was at the time. I sent him a pizza and and he, of course he thanked me and he's like, "Oh, that's a nice start. Thank you, Olivia." That's all he said. And then I think the next day he didn't talk to me at all. And I was super like sad. I'm like, oh my God, he's really done. I need to send him some more stuff. And I sent him some buffalo wings in the mail or some shit. Some buffalo wings delivered to his house. And he was like, "Oh, really? Wings now? Oh, you're really trying to work your way back. Ha ha." Like he would be super condescending with it. Like he was super like, "Oh, ha ha. You're finally doing what you should do," type shit. Like he was super like an asshole about it. But I accepted it because at the time I felt like he was better than me and I felt like he was my soulmate because he was the only guy who ever gave me his house key, only guy who ever had me around his family so much. He used to even like he literally used to brag to his family about me all the time, and I felt like okay, even though he's a little up and down and he has issues, he's still my soulmate. He has mental issues. How am I going to judge him? So mental illness is not an excuse to get abused. So I think the next few days, like we started to talk again. And then he started to be like, "Oh, well, we need to go on another trip to Florida. My cousins are having a Cousins Day weekend. You need to get off work." And it was a weekend before my birthday, so I really didn't care. I got off work, but he was like, "Oh, you need to get off work." I'm like, "Are we back together or not?" He's like, "Why are you forcing labels on me? We've already been through so much shit. Why are you forcing labels on me? I'm not sure if I want to get back with you or not, Olivia. Like, you've really put me through some shit." And like I've learned recently, when abusers and narcissists alike, they mostly put all their problems on you. You may not even have anything to do with their problems, but you're there. You're their punching bag, so they're gonna blame it on you. That's kind of what he did. He was like, so during that time, it was like a whole week. We were broken up for like a whole week. And we broke up that Sunday. And on like Friday, right, he hits me up. He said, "Good morning." And I was like, "Hey, good morning, blah, blah." And then I was like, "So do you want your key back or not?" He's like, "You come over and we'll decide that, girl." And then he said something about his dogs missing me. Even he used to tell me his dogs miss me, like as a ploy, I think, because he'd be like, "Oh, well, Nala, she keeps sitting by the door, like waiting for you to come in, like by the garage door. It's really sad. You should come over and we'll decide if I want my key back or not." So I remember as soon as I got over there, it was super weird. Like, girl, it was like, now knowing he only was with me for sex. Now knowing, I feel like he was only with me basically for sex. Well, anyway, so when I got over there, this was Friday night. After all that shit, after a week long of him saying, "I don't know if I want to be with you or not. Stop asking me if we're back together. Just go on this trip with me in July. Stop asking me if we're back together. Like, I'm not sure about you. I don't trust you, blah, blah, blah." He's over here cooking crab legs for me like he was supposed to do last week. He's over here talking about some, "Oh, I don't want to ruin this great relationship with you. I don't want to be that guy looking back." Like, I let a great woman go. He's acting super nice. And I've realized that was him gaslighting me. Gaslighting is you, one day he's like cussing you out, acting like you're not shit. And then, when they get lonely and when they need another power trip, they want to push you back in and acting super sweet. So he was doing all that shit. He cooked crab legs for me. He had alcohol for me. He bought me a bottle of vodka. Like, it was crazy. He had bought me a bottle of vodka. Was cooking for me. He was telling me, oh, no, you keep that key. You earn that key. It was crazy, y'all. And then we end up, of course, having sex that night. And he was acting super horny that day. It was super weird. I'm like, do you just want me back? Sound you're horny? And he was like, no, you're more than just sex, Olivia. You should know this by now. I wouldn't be taking any old bitch to Florida again, even though you didn't give me gas money last time. Ha ha. I'm not gonna take any old girl to Florida again with me for a cousin's weekend trip. You're gonna meet all the cousins that my ex girlfriends didn't meet. You should feel special. So, and I've learned, every time me and him would have an argument, the only time he would feel, the only times, we would end up be back on good terms is because we had sex. And now realizing this now, and the words he told me recently, he was only with me for sex. But me being retarded, I wasn't thinking that way. I was like, okay, he's sexually attracted to me. That's awesome. He's so sexually attracted to me. That's so awesome. And I do remember during the week that we were broken up, he was all like, oh, well, I didn't tell my family we broke up. I don't want them to be in our business. I didn't tell them we broke up. I didn't tell them that, like, we're not seeing each other. They know you're coming. And I didn't even consent to it. Like, he was like, well, they know you're coming anyway. So, why tell them we broke up? Why tell them we have problems? I'm not going to tell my family that because I still want to be with you. But, I don't know how long we're going to last.